Tron ARES comes to theaters. This is our non-spoiler review. Tron, the beloved franchise that starred Bruce Boxleitner, Jeff Bridges. It was so innovative and ahead of its time. People in the 80s didn't get it. My father, who worked with computers at Chrysler, worked in the car industry in Detroit, loved Tron. We saw it together. He understood what a bit was, the character of Ram, what the grid was, what it represented. But I don't think that your average person understood the computer, what computers could do, and that world. But what makes Tron so beloved? It's whimsy. It's kind of Wizard of Oz being whisked to another land. Flynn being taken to this other world. Did it really happen? Was it a dream? The idea of even religion from the programs and the users, that relationship, it's beloved. But this is a fractured trilogy. Tron Legacy came out and carried that on. But, look, Tron Legacy, I did not love it at the time, but I do think a lot of people look back on Tron Legacy and enjoy that film. Tron ARES is here and basically erases almost everything that connects to Legacy, but baits you with member berries from the first Tron. And also, it's important to note that Tron ARES, Tron is not in the movie. Not a cameo from Bruce Boxleitner. Tron
Nary a mention of Tron.
Nearly mentioned. It's Tron is a soulless brand that people know about, but it's almost it's one of those IPs that's known among nerds, but normies don't get it. Like a Krull. Sure, would I like to see another Krull movie? But I'd love to, but I know I'm probably in the minority. Tron ARES, the basic plot is Ares, played by Jared Leto, is brought into the real world as a potential weapon with a catch. He can only last physically in the real world, our world, the non-digital world, for 29 minutes before de-resing. There is code. They're seeking out the code that will give Ares and other denizens of the grid permanence in the real world. It's all about finding the code. There's a race for it, and Greta Lee plays Eve Kim, a woman who lost her sister and she has regrets about her sister. This nearly ties into the plot, but she's also seeking out this code that Flynn hid somewhere that will give permanence to anything brought from the digital grid. To say this movie is a mess is an understatement. Let's start with the first thing. Tron is not in the Tron movie. Nine Inch Nails, the soundtrack is good, but it made me miss Daft Punk. Unfortunately. Evan Peters is a mustache twirling villain as Julian Dillinger from NCOM. And I'll say this about Greta Lee. She's a very good actress in drama. She cannot do a big budget spectacle action movie at all, in my opinion. She is not suited for it, doesn't know how to do it in the least. She is terrible in this movie. And I've seen her great in other things. And the script does her no favors. Some of the worst lines of dialogue, like I've heard. Jodie Turner-Smith from The Acolyte, plays Athena. And the roles of the female characters in this film, Greta Lee as Eve Kim, Jodie Turner-Smith as Athena, and who else? There are more characters. Another one I'm forgetting.
Well, there's Gillian Anderson.
Yeah, Gillian Anderson.
Hassan Minaj.
Yeah.
And Arturo Castro.
Yeah. Now, all of those characters we just named, you barely saw in the trailer. The trailer focused on the action and Jared Leto. These are major characters in this movie, but we did not see them featured. They're almost non-existent in the trailer. They focused on spectacle and action. And on that level, those scenes are a couple scenes where I said, well, the action's pretty amazing. And the IMAX theater, which we saw the movie in, was shaking. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And in the end, means nothing. It's meaningless when you don't care about any of these characters. And it's to say that it's filled with girl bossery. I mean, it is. It just is. And I think that Disney knew this. So in the marketing, they diminished like any footage of the female characters to almost nothing. They are prominent in this movie. And you know what? It would be fine if they were awesome, but Jodie Turner-Smith as Athena, you know exactly what's going to happen on screen. She is an antagonist, but because of her identity, there's certain things that could never happen to her, and you will guess exactly how that turns out. I'm not going to tell you because you can guess. I wanted to love this, and I can't deny that I thought some of the visuals were amazing, but Tron has always been about the visuals. You need some kind of story. If the first movie taught us anything, you need some story to be the spine, to have some emotion. This is soulless IP grab by Disney, and you're going to be prepared for disappointment. You know, the bar is low, but don't trip over it. It's that low. Alan, what did you think of Tron, ARES?
Yeah, I mean, this is Disney. I walked in kind of thinking I'm almost certain I'm not going to have a great time watching this. And not only were my expectations met, this movie is far worse than I could have imagined this being. Look,
69.
From a film standpoint, the problem of this movie is zero character development.
Right.
Basically, the way movies today are being written, especially at the big studios, is you have a sympathetic character, you torture them throughout the entire film, and in the end, they come out on top. That is not character development. That's just torturing a character on screen. And that, which means from the start, you have to like this person. You have to like Greta Lee. You know why? Because she's an Oscar Award nominated actress from past lives. That's why you need to like Greta Lee. You need to like Jodie Turner-Smith because I think she was in X-Men, wasn't she? And she was also in The Acolyte. So you must like that character. Evan Peters definitely was in X-Men, and you must like him for that. And then there's Jared Leto, who you like because he was so great as the Joker in Suicide Squad. And you know, look, Jeff Bridges is right in the middle of the picture there. This movie, look, Jeff Bridges is there. So I don't think it's any spoiler to say that there's a bit of nostalgia that occurs in this movie. In fact, there's a lot of nostalgia in this movie. And when I finally got to the nostalgic part, aka the moment, i.e. the moment Jeff Bridges shows up, I was so done with this movie. I didn't care, and I found it laughable. Look, and let me bring up one thing here. I'm gonna we did this on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But here's
zoom in on that. Here, let's do this.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So, okay, I'm just gonna read two of them. Here we go. From Spooky Maddie, Tron ARES is one of the best Tron films by a landslide. Brilliant story and character moments. All right, let's go down. We read this one online as well. Jonathan Sim there were multiple moments while watching Tron Ares where I said to myself, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So why do I bring this up? Let's talk about this. I ate a great hamburger the other day. It's called a Big Mac. There's 2 all beef patties. There's that special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickle, onions on a sesame scoop. That is the greatest burger I've ever eaten in my entire life. And that's what I think about when I read these quotes on X. Because I don't know what's happened, because we as an audience, the big studios have dumbed down movies so much that any flashing light that's shined in front of our eyes becomes the best thing we've ever seen, the best Big Mac ever. Oh, by the way, I take that back. I had a Whopper. That is the best burger I've ever had that's ever been made in human history. The Whopper. So give that a try. Oh, but then there's the Jumbo Jack. Oh, I love the Jumbo Jack. I mean, that's what Hollywood, that's what creators today see as movies, is just flashing images in front of our eyes. There's no arc in here. All this movie is one action scene after the other. This happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and it's over.
It's a plot out of a video game. They're trying to find they're trying to find code to give permanence to people, to characters from the grid, right? And even Jeff Bridges is not even in the movie that much. He's kind of this. There's Jeff Bridges as Flynn. He's in the movie for a very short time, and they do the nostalgia of he goes to the original grid, the original Tron.
Oh, we're spoiling.
Grid.
We're not supposed to spoil.
Well, there's a lot more we could spoil. We'll save it for our spoiler review. But look, that's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. Everyone's talked about that. We know he's on the poster, Jeff Bridges.
I know.
Okay. So we know Flynn is in the movie. He's mentioned, but they do this thing in the beginning of the movie. If you don't know Tron, you're going to be completely confused and not understand. Here's the other thing. What made the original Tron so good. They establish rules. There was a fish out of water situation with Flynn being on the grid, trying to understand how the world works. You're a program. You're a anthropomorphized vision of a program I wrote. I am in effect a god because I created you. So, there's so the fish out of water stuff in the original Tron is part of what made it. First, it taught you rules, and then it was entertaining. There could have been fish out of water stuff with ARES as it comes into the real world, and they try to do it a little bit with how he misunderstands humor. He takes humor as literal. That's literally Data and Spock.
Right, but the thing about that,
it doesn't work.
Right, but the reason it didn't work here is because he is smart enough to know, he can scan a room and know exactly who is in the room. He's computer brain and stuff like that. He knows things. The only time he doesn't know things is when it suits a joke. And that's how it felt. The other thing is these light cycles. Guess what? It's not light. It's plastic. Yeah, it's practically, you saw what, they wrap her up in this kind of light cycle prison where they just run in circles around her, and she starts banging on it, and nothing happens to her. So apparently what the light cycles emit is plastic. And well,
they give it, I'll end on this. They don't establish verisimilitude and what the rules are, how things work coming from the grid to real life. They don't establish it. They don't explain it. I feel that what movies today based on older IP have gotten lazy about is establishing rules. You can break rules that you create. But if you make these rules, you don't even explain what they are. There's an assumption Alan, that you understand the rules and you question one of the many ones. She's surrounded by the light cycle light as kind of a prison. Is it plastic or light? Does it cut a car in half? You saw in the trailer, it chopped up a cop car. Like, is it light? How does it work? How does it function? What are the rules?
Yeah.
You know, and movies have gotten lazy. Reference Superman, James Gunn's Superman. Sure, they didn't do an origin, but they did a piss poor job of world building and rules. We don't know what they are. You still need to do that. Even if it's an IP that's older, there's a new audience. It may be the first time they see a Tron movie. So give us, it can be very brief, but they don't do any of that in this film. They do a montage in the beginning of news stories on the internet, kind of bringing you up to speed to now. And I'll just say that's it. I think that's lazy because you're doing it all in dialogue, and a lot of it looks AI. It's bad. It's bad. That opening sequence is terrible.
Yeah.
And
by the way, you're not even in the Tron world,
right?
Barely. And when you're in the Tron world, you're in a room. The other thing is, there are a lot of plot holes, like the construction of the recognizer. I can't even tell you how it's impossible for the recognizer to have been made in that room. The other thing is, okay. Two things. One is, you talk about rules. How did Cora survive after the second movie? Out in the real world for more than 29 seconds or 29 minutes. So they don't even explain that. The other thing is the one thing that Tron ARES gets right. It's the racial balance. And I'll say it like this. Look, there's Encon and then there's Dillinger. Encon's the good guys. Dillinger's the bad guy. Dillinger is comprised of white and black people, while Encon is comprised of everybody else, the Asians and the Hispanics and Latinos. And so to me, at least they represented the world racially as it truly is, the whites and the blacks against everyone else. There you go. Good job. Good job, Disney. You got it.
So, Alan, do you recommend Tron ARES?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I do not. If you're
it makes
a fan
me love
of
Tron Legacy even more.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Tron, you will not like Tron ARES. If you've never heard of Tron, you are not going to care. So this is a pass for me.
Yeah,
let me not recommend for you.
No, let me say one last thing. And the reason why this movie is so bad, it has nothing to say. It's just an action movie.
Yo, yeah, I want to end on that. That was the thing that really got me. This movie, again, there is no message. It doesn't have anything to say. The great thing about classic sci-fi, whether it was, just go through the classic sci-fi films. They always had, it wasn't a message in terms of telling you what to think, but there was a theme. There was some kind of theme. The character was taken on a journey and grew. This movie says absolutely nothing.
It's an action
has nothing to say about AI. It's not relevant to what's happening today. It's not relevant about society and technology. This Tron is like a great opportunity to talk about the internet, how we interact with each other online, about how tech has changed us in terms of real world. I see these people show like photos from people interacting in the 80s and 90s, and then they show people all on their phones in public or at the dinner table. And that's like, Tron could have had something to say that was important. That wasn't a lecture. It, in the end, says absolutely nothing. And that is the biggest flaw. You put in all the spectacle you want. I'll even ignore things that bother me. If it has something to say that is compelling and makes me think after the fact, it's really hard for me to even think of a recent sci-fi film that gave me something to think about, that made me think about. And some of these movies I've seen, I think about for years. And this, it's ultimately about nothing.